The cold metal corridors of Earth Space Defense Command hummed with a quiet tension. Captain J. Park stood before the massive holographic display, his eyes scanning the star charts with a mixture of determination and barely contained anxiety. Outside the reinforced windows, Earth looked peaceful, a deceptive calm that masked the imminent threat lurking in the dark expanses of space. The collective had been methodically destroying civilization after civilization. Their systematic approach was terrifyingly efficient. Entire planetary systems had been reduced to cosmic dust in mere weeks. Humanity was next on their list, and everyone knew it. The USS Blackstar represented humanity's last real hope. Unlike previous military vessels, this ship was different. Experimental technology woven into every circuit, weapon system, and structural component made it something entirely new. It wasn't just a ship, it was a statement of human potential. Jay remembered the briefing from 3 nights ago. The senior military strategists had been brutally frank. Their current fleet stood little chance against the collective's overwhelming technological superiority. Traditional weapons and defensive strategies would crumble within hours of engagement. "We need something they won't expect," Admiral Chen had said, looking directly at Jay. The weight of that statement hung in the air like a physical presence. The Blackstar's design was radical. Its quantum adaptive shielding could theoretically reconfigure molecular structures in milliseconds. Plasma weapons that could shift frequency faster than enemy sensors could track. An AI integration that went beyond standard computer systems, something closer to a living, thinking entity. Jay's team had worked countless hours preparing for this moment. Engineers, mathematicians, tactical experts all had contributed to creating this singular weapon of hope. Each person knew the stakes. Failure meant not just military defeat, but the potential extinction of human civilization. The ship's construction had been a closely guarded secret. Advanced manufacturing techniques allowed for components that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. Nano-engineered materials that could self-repair. Computational systems that could predict enemy movements with unprecedented accuracy. As Jay reviewed the final mission parameters, he couldn't help but feel a strange mix of excitement and terror. This wasn't just another military deployment. This was humanity's quantum leap into a larger, more dangerous universe. The collective's previous conquests had followed a predictable pattern. Overwhelming force. Systematic elimination. No mercy. But they had never encountered something like the Blackstar. They had never truly understood human innovation. Technical specifications scrolled across secondary screens. Fuel consumption rates. Weapon calibrations. Shield frequency modulations. Each number represented months of research, billions in funding, and the collective genius of humanity's best minds. Outside the command center, preparation continued at a feverish pace. Technicians ran final system checks. Weapon specialists calibrated experimental plasma cannons. The entire facility buzzed with an electric anticipation. Jay knew the ship needed more than just technological superiority. It needed a crew that could think differently. Soldiers who understood that conventional warfare was obsolete. People who could adapt, improvise, and overcome in ways the collective couldn't predict. His hand touched the communication panel. "Prepare launch sequence," he said quietly. The words seemed to echo through the sterile metal environment, carrying the weight of humanity's future. The holographic display flickered. Star systems transformed into potential battle zones. Each point of light represented not just a location, but a potential turning point in an interstellar conflict that would determine the fate of an entire species. The USS Blackstar wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's answer to an existential threat. A beacon of hope forged in technological innovation and human determination. And very soon, it would enter the fight. And the enemy would never see it coming. The Epsilon Quadrant stretched before the USS Blackstar like an endless black canvas, punctuated by distant starlight. Lieutenant Yoon Kim's fingers danced across the quantum adaptive control panel, her eyes locked on the sensor readings that flickered with increasing intensity. Something was coming. The alien ships emerged from subspace distortions, their geometric formations a testament to mathematical precision. Clean. Calculated. Predictable. The collective's vessels look like intricate crystal structures. Beautiful and deadly, each angle designed for maximum destructive potential. J. Park watched the tactical display, his breathing steady. Years of training had prepared him for this moment. The bridge crew remained silent, tension crackling through the air like static electricity. "Incoming transmission," announced the communications officer, his voice tight. The alien communication was a series of complex mathematical patterns, a language of pure logic that would have been incomprehensible to earlier human generations. But the Blackstar's AI was different. It translated the message in seconds. Surrender. Submission. Extinction. A standard collective ultimatum. Yoon's hands moved with practiced efficiency. The ship's experimental shields began to pulse, a living network of quantum adaptive technology that responded faster than human reflexes could comprehend. Each molecular layer could reconfigure itself milliseconds before an incoming attack. "Weapons systems online," she reported. Her voice was calm, almost detached. The first wave of alien energy weapons approached. In any other human ship, this would have been a moment of certain destruction. But the Blackstar was not any other ship. The plasma shields flickered, not with weakness, but with calculated absorption. Where traditional shields would have collapsed, these adapted. The alien energy was not just blocked, it was studied, analyzed, and transformed. Jay watched in silent amazement as the first collective ships realized something was different. Their precise, mathematical approach was being challenged by something they couldn't predict. Unpredictability. The most human of qualities. The Blackstar's weapon systems charged. Not with brute force, but with intelligent targeting. Each plasma burst was a carefully calculated response, learning from the previous milliseconds' engagement. "Secondary targeting systems engaged," Yoon announced. The battle became a dance of technology and strategy. The collective ships moved in perfect geometric patterns, expecting the same predictable resistance they had encountered in hundreds of previous conquests. But humanity had something they didn't understand. Creativity. The first collective vessel exploded not from overwhelming force, but from its own systemic weakness being expertly exploited. Its perfectly logical design became its fatal flaw. One by one, the alien ships discovered that their mathematical certainty was no match for human innovation. Each explosion was a mathematical impossibility, a breakdown of their expected outcome. Jay allowed himself a small smile. This was more than a battle. This was a statement. Humanity would not be conquered. The bridge crew worked with a synchronized efficiency that seemed almost supernatural. Every action was precise, every decision instantaneous. The Blackstar moved like a living entity, its AI and human operators functioning as a single, adaptive organism. As the last collective ship disintegrated, a profound silence settled over the bridge. They had done more than win a battle. They had challenged an entire philosophy of warfare. "Damage report," Jay said quietly. "Minimal," Yoon responded. "Shield integrity at 97%. No critical systems compromised." Outside, the vast emptiness of space remained unchanged. But everything had changed. The USS Blackstar had entered the fight. And the enemy would never recover. The engineering bay of the USS Blackstar hummed with an electric intensity that was more alive than mechanical. Hyun Lee stood surrounded by recovered alien technology, her eyes reflecting a mixture of scientific curiosity and strategic determination. Each piece of collective technology looked like a perfect geometric puzzle. Smooth surfaces. Precise angles. Mathematical perfection. But Hyun saw beyond the surface. She saw opportunity. The neural network algorithms developed by her team were something entirely different from traditional computer systems. Where the collective's technology followed rigid, predictable patterns, human innovation thrived on adaptation and creative problem-solving. "Look at this," she murmured to her lead engineer, pointing at a recovered alien communication module. What seemed like a complex crystal structure to others was, to Hyun, a language waiting to be understood. The ship's AI began processing the alien technology at speeds that would have been impossible just months earlier. It wasn't just analyzing the systems, it was learning from them. Absorbing. Transforming. Each millisecond brought new understanding. J. Park watched from the observation deck. The recovered collective technology represented more than just a potential weapon. It was a window into an entirely different approach to technological development. The alien systems were perfect. Too perfect. They followed mathematical rules with such precision that they became their own weakness. Humanity's strength had always been its ability to break rules, to think beyond established boundaries. In the engineering bay, complex holographic displays showed the gradual deconstruction of alien technology. Lines of code transformed. Quantum algorithms reshaped. What was once an impenetrable system became increasingly vulnerable. The communication protocols, Hyun explained to her team, are actually a form of rigid mathematical communication. They expect responses within extremely narrow parameters. A junior engineer looked confused. Isn't that good? Hyun smiled. It means they can't adapt. They can't understand something that doesn't follow their expected pattern. The ship's AI continued its relentless analysis. It was learning faster than any previous computational system. Each piece of alien technology became a lesson, a new understanding of how technological systems could function. Outside the engineering bay, the vastness of space continued its silent watch. Countless stars witnessed humanity's quiet revolution. The recovered collective technology revealed something extraordinary. Their entire technological infrastructure was built on a fundamental misunderstanding of true innovation. They believed in perfect systems. Humanity believed in dynamic potential. Hyun's team worked through continuous shifts. No one felt tired. They were witnessing a technological transformation that would change everything. The neural networks began producing predictive models that went beyond simple calculation. They were creating strategies, anticipating movements, understanding not just the mathematical possibility, but the potential for unexpected action. We're not just analyzing their technology, Hyun told Jay during a briefing. We're rewriting the entire concept of technological interaction. Each recovered system became a piece of a larger puzzle. Communication modules, weapon technologies, navigation systems. Everything was being transformed, adapted, reimagined through a distinctly human lens. The collective had conquered countless civilizations by presenting an image of technological superiority. They had never encountered a species that could literally reprogram their own understanding in real time. As hours turned into days, the engineering bay became a crucible of innovation. Human creativity was turning alien perfection into a vulnerability. The USS Blackstar was no longer just a ship. It was a living experiment in technological potential. A statement that humanity's greatest weapon was not its technology, but its ability to continuously reimagine what was possible. Hyun looked at the final analysis of the alien systems and allowed herself a small smile. They had done more than understand the collective's technology. They had found its fundamental weakness. And humanity was about to exploit it in ways the aliens could never predict. The collective's home system glowed with an eerie, mathematical precision. Woo Park studied the holographic tactical display, his fingers tracing potential attack vectors that defied conventional military strategy. The USS Blackstar moved like a phantom through enemy space. Its quantum adaptive camouflage made traditional sensor systems useless. Where other ships would appear as predictable targets, the Blackstar existed as a constantly shifting possibility. J. Park's voice cut through the bridge's tension. Prepare quantum entanglement weapons. The weapon systems were unlike anything in human or alien military history. Each plasma burst could simultaneously exist in multiple quantum states, making traditional defensive calculations impossible.
The collective's perfectly structured defense grid would become its own fatal trap. Alien defense platforms began to activate. Geometric energy shields pulsed with mathematical regularity. They had defended against hundreds of civilizations. They expected another predictable assault. They were wrong. The first wave of Blackstar's attacks seemed impossible. Plasma bursts that split, merged, and reconfigured mid-trajectory. Energy weapons that could penetrate molecular structures by existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Wu's tactical calculations moved faster than the collective's defensive algorithms could process. Each attack was a complex puzzle designed to exploit the smallest systemic weakness. Target their central communication hub, Jay commanded. The communication hub was a marvel of alien engineering. A perfect geometric structure that had coordinated their galactic conquests for centuries. Mathematically impenetrable. Strategically unassailable. Until now. The Blackstar's quantum weapons didn't just attack. They rewritten the fundamental communication protocols of the entire defense network. Where the collective expected solid resistance, they found their own systems turning against them. Defensive platforms began to malfunction. Energy shields collapsed. Communication networks started sending contradictory signals. Chaos. Pure human-engineered chaos. The alien command structure, built on rigid mathematical predictability, couldn't comprehend what was happening. Their entire technological philosophy was based on perfect, unchanging systems. Humanity's strength was its ability to change. To adapt. To transform. Wave after wave of collective ships approached, expecting to overwhelm the single human vessel. Each approach was met with a strategy that rewrote the rules of engagement. Quantum adaptive shields absorbed incoming energy. Weapon systems recalculated trajectories in milliseconds. The Blackstar moved like a living entity, anticipating attacks before they could be launched. Primary defense grid neutralized, Yoon Kim reported, her voice calm and steady. The collective's home system began to unravel. Not through brute force, but through the systematic deconstruction of their own technological philosophy. Jay watched the tactical display. This was more than a battle. This was a fundamental challenge to the collective's understanding of technological warfare. Hours passed like moments. The Blackstar continued its surgical assault. Each attack was a lesson. Each strategy a statement about human potential. The alien leadership watched in growing horror. Their perfectly constructed civilization was being dismantled by an opponent they couldn't understand. An opponent that didn't follow their expected rules. As the final defense platforms collapsed, a profound silence settled over the battlefield. The USS Blackstar had done more than win a battle. It had transformed the entire concept of interstellar conflict. Humanity had arrived. And the universe would never be the same. Wu Park looked at Jay and allowed himself a small, knowing smile. They had just changed everything. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Captain J. Park stepped forward. Representatives from hundreds of civilizations watched, their collective breath held in anticipation. The USS Blackstar had become more than a ship. It was a symbol of something greater. Humanity's unexpected potential had rewritten the fundamental understanding of technological warfare and interstellar diplomacy. Survivors of civilizations previously conquered by the collective looked on with a mixture of hope and disbelief. For generations, they had watched helplessly as their worlds were systematically destroyed. Now, everything had changed. The collective's diplomatic representative approached, something close to fear evident in its mathematically precise movements. No words were necessary. The battle had been decisive. Total. Complete. We request negotiations, the representative stated, its voice a cold computational tone that previously would have sounded like an absolute command. Jay understood the deeper meaning. This was more than a surrender. This was a fundamental recognition of human capability. The recovered technological archives revealed the true extent of the Blackstar's impact. Not just a military victory, but a complete deconstruction of the collective's philosophical approach to technological development. Human innovation had proven something profound. Creativity could defeat calculated perfection. Adaptability could overcome rigid systems. Military strategists from Earth reviewed the battle logs. Each engagement demonstrated how human unpredictability could transform technological warfare. The Blackstar hadn't just won battles. It had challenged an entire civilization's understanding of conflict. News spread quickly across human colonies.
The ship that had been humanity's last hope was now a beacon of potential. Children would grow up hearing stories of how a single vessel had changed the course of galactic history. The technological insights gained from the conflict would reshape human understanding of quantum mechanics, computational systems, and interstellar communication. Universities would spend decades studying the recovered collective technologies. Diplomatic negotiations began, but they were unlike any previous encounters. The collective no longer approached with demands. They approached with a newfound respect. A recognition that humanity represented something fundamentally different. Jay knew this was more than a military victory. This was a moment of species-level transformation. The USS Blackstar itself would be preserved. Not as a weapon, but as a monument. A testament to human potential. Future generations would study its systems, understanding how innovation could reshape entire civilizations. Representatives from previously conquered worlds approached human diplomats. Their eyes carried stories of generations of suffering. Now, they saw hope. The galactic power structure had been permanently altered. The collective centuries of systematic conquest had been ended by a single ship. A single strategy. A fundamentally human approach to problem solving. Technological exchange programs were quickly established. Human researchers would study collective technologies. Alien civilizations would learn about human adaptive systems. A new era of galactic cooperation began. Not through forced submission, but through mutual recognition of potential. Jay looked out at the assembled representatives. He saw not just diplomats, but witnesses to a fundamental shift in galactic understanding. The USS Blackstar had entered the fight. And the universe would never be the same. As the diplomatic discussions continued, one thing became clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. Not as conquerors. Not as victims. But as something entirely unexpected. Innovative. Adaptable. Unstoppable. The legacy of the USS Blackstar was just beginning.